Students Emma and Dan, who could hardly stand each other, found themselves in an extraordinary situation that took test their survival skills, their patience, and ultimately their trust in one another. Emma was a model student, bright, responsible, and immensely popular among her peers. She always seemed to be everything under control, balancing her studies and social life effortlessly. Dan, on the other hand, lived by his own rules. He was rebellious, laid back, and more interested in video games and avoiding trouble than in school or relationships. Their paths first crossed at school on a seemingly ordinary morning. Emma's routine was Percy's: wake up early, get ready, and say goodbye to her mother before heading to school. She worked with a sense of purpose, chatting with friends along the way. Dan's morning, however, was chaotic. He overslept, rushed through brushing his teeth, and spent the remaining time playing video games. His father, Jack, constantly reminded him to hurry, trying to insist responsibility in a son who often struggled with grief after losing his mother. The day took a dramatic turn in class. Their teacher, Mr. Christian Sen, announced a college trip and explained all arrangements. Emma and Dan arrived at the same time, colliding accidentally and instantly irritating each other. Emma, already focused on her studies and social connections, decided to ignore Dan's presence, but Dan's nonchalant attitude and unpredictable behavior immediately caught her attention. That day, small incidents, the slicing of apple with a knife, the teacher's intervention, and Dan being called to the principal's office foreshadowed how unpredictable this trip would become. When the day of the trip arrived, the students boarded the bus full of excitement. Emma, alone with her close friends Lizzie and Helen, was bubbly and cheerful while Dan kept it to himself. The bus ride was full with teasing, laughter, and the occasional awakened glances between Emma and Dan. At the destination, the college instructors allowed the students to enjoy themselves at the pool. Before the formal program began, Emma and Stephen, a boy who had secretly liked her, shared moments that hinted at his interest, but Dan's presence remains a silence counterpoint, a reminder that the dynamics between them were from the simple. The first real conflict emerges at a party hosted by Stephen. Emma was initially reluctant to attend, but his friends pursued her. When she noticed Stephen enjoying himself with another girl, Dan quietly warned her about Stephen's intentions. Emma dismissed his concern, determined to handle her own affairs. The party abruptly ended when the police arrived due to a drug report. In the chaos, Emma slipped into the water and Dan instinctively saved her. They climbed onto a small boat, tried to a larger platform, cutting the rope to escape police attention. Unbeknownst to them, this moment marked the start of a life-altering journey. A storm carried them out to the sea. By morning, their phones were broken or had no signal, leaving them stranded. They spotted an island and managed to reach it, exhausted and unsure of what dangers awaited. On the island, they discovered a flare gun on the boat they had washed up with. Climbing to higher ground, they survived the dense jungle and the surrounding beaches. Though isolated, they began to organize themselves, starting with exploring the terrain, gathering food, and creating a temporary shelter. Days turned into weeks as Emma and Dan adapted to Iceland life. They discovered a beautiful waterfall streaming of fresh water and edible fruits. They built a more permanent shelter from branches and leaves and lived to light fires, catch fish, and store supplies safely. Their personalities, once clashing, began to complement each other. Emma replied to Dan's instinct and physical strength, while Dan learned to value Emma's careful planning and knowledge. Though adversity, a partnership grew where trust and mutual respect became a crucial for survival. The psychological strain of isolation tested them as well. Dan opened up about his mother's death, revealing his feeling of guilt and grief. Emma, empathetic and attentive, comforted him, deepening their emotional bond. Small moments like sharing a shirt when Emma felt cold, resting beside each other, or helping in minor injuries strengthened the connection between them. They learned to read the island's natural cues, predicting storms, identifying safe plants, and avoiding dangerous animals. Their first real encounter with mortal danger came when a black panther appeared in the jungle. Dan chased the animal while Emma followed cautiously. He fell into a trap but managed to defend himself with a knife, killing the panther with Emma witnessing the entire ordeal. This incident, terrifying as it was, reinforced their reliance on each other. They realized that survival demanded not only physical physical skill but also emotional resilience and coordination. In parallel, their families and friends were desperately searching for them. Reports indicated that Emma and Dan were missing, with police organizing searches and even assuming the worst. On the island, the duo focused not on hope but on practical survival. They explored the jungle for food, built traps for small animals, and maintained a constant for passing planes or ships. They discovered a small cave to store supplies and retreat to during storms. Emma began documenting their experiences almost as a survival journal, recording discoveries and methods that ensured their continued safety. Routine became their lifeline. Dan made spears and traps while Emma identified edible plants and prepared meals. They celebrated small victories, catching fish, finding fresh water, discovering new fruit trees, knowing that each success increased their changes by staying alive. Nights were spent by the fire, sharing stories of their past, discussing fear, and occasionally laughing at minor mishaps. Though life on the island was harsh, moments of peace and beauty, like sunsets over the beach or the sound of waterfalls, provided solace. Months passed. Emma and Dan honed survival skills to an impressive degree. They built a lookout platform using branches and vines to scan the horizon for rescue opportunities. Their cooperation deepened. Tasks that once felt burdensome became shared responsibilities, and subtle signs of affection and care emerged. They began to understand each other in ways that would have been impossible back home. Emma noticed Dan's confidence growing, while Dan valued Emma's calm and rational approach in stressful situations. One day, a significant breakthrough occurred. The monkey who had previously stolen their flare gun returned it, dropped it from the trees. Emma and Dan cleaned and prepared the flare gun, carefully planning to use it when the plane or ship passed. Days later, a helicopter appeared. Emma and Dan rushed to the highest point on the island. Dan fired the flare gun and refilled, washed over them as the helicopter spotted their signal. They survived countless challenges, storms, hunger, injuries, and isolation, and now salvation was finally within reach. The rescue was emotional and overwhelming. Families and friends greeted them with tears, hugs, and gratitude. Emma's parents were relieved to have her back, and Dan's father, Jack, was visibly emotional. College friends were overjoyed, curious to hear the tales of their survival. The ordeal has changed both of them. Emma returned to college life with newfound confidence and respect. She shared stories of the island and the hardships faced, inspiring her peers. Dan preferred solitude, needing time to process the emotional and psychological weight of what they had endured. Their post rescue lives reflected their personalities shaped by survival. Emma continued her social and academic life, growing closer to friends and exploring new opportunities with a stronger sense of self. Dan, introspective and private, maintained a quieter life, occasionally reconnecting with Emma. Despite physical separation, their bond endured, a silent understanding rooted in sharp shared hardship and mutual respect. When they did meet, there was no need for words. A glance or a touch conveyed the depth of their experiences together. In their final moments of reflection, Emma and Dan realized how much the ordeal had transformed them. The island had stripped them of distractions, focusing them to confront fear, uncertainty, and raw survival instinct. They had learned the importance of trust, teamwork, and emotional resilience. Emma embraced her renewed life friendships, and independence. Dan found peace in solitude, understanding that his strength lay not in isolation but in the ability of adapt, protect, and care. The story of Emma and Dan is not merely about survival, it is about the growth and transformation that extreme circumstances can bring. It showcases how adversities can foster unexpected bonds, how vulnerability can lead to trust, and how resilience and resourcefulness are cultivated under pressure. Their journey from college rivals to life saving partners encapsulates the unpredictability of life and the profound lessons that come from facing the unknown. Ultimately, the island adventure ended with hope, growth, and transformation. Emma and Dan returned to the world changed, stronger, wiser, and deeply connected by the trials that endured together. The experience left a permanent mark on both, reminding them that even in isolation and danger, human connection, courage, and adaptability can prevail. They learned that survival is not just a matter of skin but also of heart's trust and understanding. Their story is a testament of the resilience to the human spirit, illustrating that even the most unlikely companions can become allies when confronted with life's ultimate challenges. Those storms, wild animals, scarcity, and isolation, Emma and Dan discovered not only the strength within themselves but also the value of partnership, empathy, and emotional support. As they resumed their normal lives, Emma thrived socially and academically, carried forward lessons of courage, patience, and determination. Dan lived more quietly, but the shaped experience gave him insight into his own strength and vulnerabilities. Their bond remained a quiet connection that needed no words, an unspoken acknowledgement of survival, trust, and the remarkable journey that they undertaken together. The complete tale of Emma and Dan's Island adventure is a journey of growth, trust, and the transformative power of extreme circumstances, a story of survival and human connection that lingers long after rescue.